Hi there, Will here, and today I'd like to talk to you about a theoretical new film camera with a very pretty launch campaign that has a bunch of issues, in my opinion. It's called the Analog AF1 and is being made by a company that has a decent presence in the industry, from what I can tell. They resell cameras mostly and have even released a digital point and shoot, I think. But I have some questions relating to this one. I've decided to put this out here because I got recommended a video of someone essentially going through the spec sheet for this thing, and it served mainly as an advert of sorts for this potential camera. And I don't think it's fair for that to be the only representation of what's going on here on the internet, because there are a number of issues with this campaign, and I'd like for people to be fully informed before they throw 400 euros towards something that might never exist. I've been doing this analog thing for almost 10 years now, and over the years have seen a number of very promising projects come and go. A number of them disappeared completely. Some of them turned into things that were completely unrelated to what they were selling initially. And across the board, there's a tendency of companies being able to market things as stellar and just sort of let features fall away. Does anyone remember the Reflex SLR? It was a brand new film camera, actually quite a hype thing because it was before the Pentax 17s and Rolly 35 AFs of the world. It was basically the first new film camera that anyone had conceptualized, and people got behind it. I think they raised like £150,000 in funding, fully completed their Kickstarter, and then just stopped existing. What about the Film Never Die camera, the Nana, the Contax T2 killer, which ended up just being a rehoused Alibaba camera in a prettier body? That's just to say that there's a precedent in this community for people to oversell and underdeliver, and for people to be happy because there's something to show for it, at least, and it's a new film camera. Let's touch on some of the specific elements of this theoretical camera, though, that I find very concerning. To be honest, this whole website and marketing campaign that's going on at the moment has got alarm bells ringing in my head, but maybe I'm just being cynical. First off, not a single image in their marketing campaign has been made with the camera that they're trying to sell, which is massively disingenuous if we're being kind, and an outright scam if we're being honest, because you can't sell a camera based on the optical quality and images that you're showing in your campaign if the camera doesn't exist to make those images. Which brings me to my second point. The camera doesn't exist. There is no physical camera at the moment of what they're trying to sell. All they have on the website are 3D renders based on a theoretical design of a cool looking camera which could have some nice cool features in it. And speaking of the 3D renders of this camera, the co-founder has also doubled down on Reddit, saying that they are using 3D renders, but that these 3D renders are, quote, made from the original CAD models, which means that they have CAD models which are ready to be sent off to their manufacturer and start making the camera. There's just one problem. There's no film door. That's a pretty important feature on a film camera, is being able to actually load the thing. And if these are manufacturer-ready CAD files, I'd strongly advise the analog company to have another gander at their CAD file and make sure that there's actually a way to load film into their camera, because it's pretty important. Another important feature to have on their CAD files would probably be a battery door, since this camera is quoted as taking a CR123A battery, which I'm pretty sure is the same battery a Mu 2 takes, which is probably where they got that design choice from, but is also an archaic format, and really, if you're going to make a cutting-edge, state-of-the-art film camera, probably would recommend not using a CR123A. In fact, the whole thing, based on their manufacturer-ready CAD file, is a singular unit, one machined piece of something. It's plastic. So why is there even a discussion going on about this thing at the moment, since it literally doesn't even exist? Because it has a very pretty website. Whoever was in charge of setting up this website is an expert website maker. Legitimately, the only difference right now between the Analog AF1 and my new film camera, which I've drawn on a piece of paper here, the Contax T53, is that my camera has a film door and only costs $299. It's also got 69 points of autofocus with 420 hours of battery life, a built-in lithium battery, diamond optics with hydrogen dioxide coating and a monofilament body. It'll release soon, I promise. Seriously though, let's break down some of these buzzwords while we're here. The lens. 6-element double Gauss lens with diamond cut edges on the lens barrier for a refined touch. Sounds extremely slick and extremely expensive. 6 elements of precision glass in 4 groups. That's a pretty techie thing to manufacture. There's another camera that has a similar lens setup. It's a Contax T3, which was made at the pinnacle of film camera manufacture when the factories did still exist and people still had stacks of money to throw at expensive cameras because there were no digital cameras. The viewfinder. Albada Galilean Bright Viewfinder. This is an interesting element, since I went and looked into this, as I'm not well versed enough in viewfinders to know what the story is here. An Albada viewfinder is essentially a viewfinder that has 2 glass elements in it, one which sits at the front and has a reflective coating on the back of it, and one which sits at the back and has a printed finder on it that reflects off of the reflective surface of the glass on the front and gives you your viewfinder. Not particularly techy, not responsive in any way. It's a fixed viewfinder, nothing special. What's interesting about it though is that in looking into it, I found the patent for the original Albada Galileo finder, and it sent me down a bit of a rabbit hole. If you'll allow me to speculate, and perhaps be overly cynical, but honestly, within the realm of reason, this patent belonged to the Konica Minolta company. The same Konica Minolta company that this company claims to be working with in making this camera. But the Konica Minolta company doesn't make cameras anymore. They're mainly into printers and philanthropy these days, from what I can tell. So what do they actually have to do with the analog AF1 then? Well, here's this now expired patent for the same viewfinder they're wanting to put in their camera. Could it be that the closest association they have to the Konica Minolta company is that they've got the patent for this viewfinder now, or are working with a company that made these viewfinders? That seems a whole lot closer to the realm of reality than them magically having found a factory that no one else who's wanted to make a film camera over the last decade managed to stumble across. Again, perhaps I'm being overly cynical and speculative with this little rabbit hole, but I think it's only fair, given the amount of speculation involved in the marketing material for this camera, that I'm allowed to speculate a bit too. And I'm being a lot more upfront about how speculative I am. The biggest thing to point out, really, is this camera, even in its purely theoretical current state, is doing absolutely nothing new and is trying to sell you on it by using fancy words to describe features that have mostly existed in other cameras for decades already. Their spec sheet, without the buzzwords, tells you that this camera has an f2.8 lens, which is cool and something to strive towards for them, obviously, because it's what like the Mu and the T2 and whatever have. A fast lens. Fast for a point and shoot, because f2.8 is not particularly fast. 1,000th to 4-second exposure. Autofocus. Focus and exposure lock. There's no mention of the meter currently, but surely it's going to have a meter if everything else is automated. A shutter button, a flash, a viewfinder, a motor to advance the film, a DX code reader, and a self-timer. Does it make sense to you, given the outcomes we've seen from actual camera companies like Ricoh with the Pentax 17 and Mint with the Rolly 35, that this camera, from a little-known camera reseller, is going to pack all of these features into this package with a premium look for the price that they're quoting? At best, this is going to cost substantially more than they're quoting at the moment, if it actually happens. And at worst, which honestly is what I'm leaning towards right now, it's just never going to happen, and they're going to meander off happily with the deposit money they've gotten from people. This is without even mentioning their roadmap, which is the most optimistic roadmap for a camera manufacturer I've ever seen, given where it is currently, since there is no physical product in any form yet, not even a janky one that's too ugly to use in marketing pictures but can actually make photos. And I think the whole thing is just super disingenuous, to be honest. Like, I look at things like this and I feel like I'm being sold something cool, And I mean, the entire purpose of this marketing material is for it to look very cool and for you to be blown away by all the features. And it's geared towards people who don't know a particularly large amount about cameras, based on what I can see here. And it's just not fair, really, because it's unrealistic, disingenuous, speculative, and an outright scam to use pictures that don't come from your camera to try sell your camera, in my opinion. I do, of course, reserve the right to be wrong about all of this, in which case I'd be very happy to review the thing if it ends up actually existing. I'll be following along with their development and might even report back here, depending on how things go. But I really just felt I needed to put something out in relation to this, given that it is kicking off on the internet at the moment. And it's not fair to people who may not know better to be all starry-eyed about something that literally does not exist. Also, I'll eat my words and give an apology if it does actually come out as this exact camera with all of these features in the timeline that they've given, because I'm nothing besides willing to accept criticism, which hopefully they are as well. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. A big part of the reason that I've decided to put this out here is that there are a large number of people who watch these videos who know a lot more about cameras than I do, and I would love to hear what you think about what's going on here, because my red alerts are sounding, the alarm bells are ringing, there's a lot of buzzwords going on here with not a lot of substance to back it up, and if I'm wrong, I'd like to have it very thoroughly explained to me, and if you think I'm right, I'd love to hear someone's breakdown of some of the very optimistic specs they got going here. Anyway, I'll see you soon.